Okay. Yep. We official. We official now. The party started. We got the technical difficulties out the way. Tad bit more. But hopefully we'll get our other member on as soon as that gets straightened out. But welcome back to the studio, gentlemen. And
What's going on? What's going
welcome.
on?
Hey man, everything's good. Everything's good. The women's college season is complete. We gave it a couple of days to kind of let it all soak in. And also, the men are done now. Congratulations to UConn as well, and congratulations to South Carolina Gamecocks, both winning the men's and women's national championship for NCAA Division One. And we'll discuss college basketball today, in particular, in more detail on the women's side, and then we'll touch a little bit on the men's side. And as you can see on the header, uh, and a lot of our viewers were able to see that the title for today's episode is Caitlin Clark the GOAT? We'll talk about that later, but we'll let that sink in for a moment. Mr. Brown, how are you today?
I am doing well, real well.
Oh, wonderful to see you again. And I'm so glad you're able to make it. And the listeners, every time you're on, there's something that we all can learn from that you usually deliver to us. So that's excellent. So can't wait for that.
I'll share this with you. It's better to be seen than viewed.
Amen to that. I'll take that one every day. All
Yes.
right. Okay. Well, we're gonna get this party started, gentlemen. All right. Welcome to the Sports Brothers Show, 411 Sports World. I'm your host, Mr. 411, panel of experts up to this point. Brooks, the showcase, and Mr. Henry Brown. Glad to have them in here. All right. South Carolina Gamecocks, the women. They won the championship on the women's side. So let's go ahead and talk about that. Congratulations to Don Staley and her squad being the champs. And 38. I mean, it was complete, a complete 38 0, or was it 39 0, one of those. But either way, it was impressive. Undefeated season. And they defeated Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes in the championship game. So, gentlemen, before we dive deeper into it, just your initial thoughts on just the championship game. And
Mm.
yeah, we'll go ahead and start with you, Brooks. What's your initial thoughts on that championship game Sunday afternoon?
No, I mean, Kaylin Clark came out hot, and I thought she may be able to have one of those games, she can carry her team single handedly to a title. But South Carolina just too much talent on the floor. Iowa had talent around Clark, but not to the degree that South Carolina has. And Don Staley's created just a monster of a program, and they expect to win every game, and they're hard to knock off. So uh, I just think Iowa kind of was just didn't have uh, the talent from the 1 to 7, 1 to 8 that South Carolina has, despite Caitlin Clark's best efforts. So yeah, that was my feeling the whole game.
So, can you hear me, Mr. Brown?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Well, yeah. What was your take on the championship game there, South Carolina and Iowa?
Compelling. Uh, it was absolutely a great game, but more importantly, it was well coached by Don Staley. Uh, and the telltale sign of what Don Staley had done was when Caitlin Clark started putting up threes and they was falling short because she hounded her all over the floor. took a lot of energy away from her trying to handle the ball. So on one hand, Don Staley did a great job coaching. On the other hand, I thought that Iowa's coach went to sleep in terms of taking the ball out of Clark's hand, keeping her fresh so she could shoot. When somebody is hounding you over the floor like that, it takes a lot of energy bringing the ball up the court. So kudos to Don Staley. I think she had a heck of a game plan. And initially, we thought that this was going to be another Iowa win until, in the first couple of minutes of the game. But when they started picking her up full court, she was making mental mistakes, turning the ball over. So that's human nature. Human nature.
Yeah. Yeah, those are good points, gentlemen. And I know for me, I finally got to watch the game, uh, and I watched it in segments. And yes, that first quarter, that was shocking. That the way that Iowa jumped on South Carolina that quick, but if they were going to win, that's basically how they were going to need to do it. Again, South Carolina, this is a whole new roster from the previous year. So that just shows you what type of recruits were coming in, that Don Staley had coming in for this season. And just great job by South Carolina about to win it. They actually were able to extract their revenge from losing the Iowa last year in the Final Four. So I think that's a little cherry on top for them. Congratulations to Iowa for making it, to the championship game again. And again, job well done by them too. And that's what I
50,
have for that.
51-29, South Carolina out rebounded them. So
Yeah.
that was that's a big difference.
Oh, absolutely. Getting those
Anytime you
boards.
get out rebounded like that, especially on the
Yeah.
offensive board, they got out rebounded 18-7 on the offensive board. I mean, that's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard to win when you get that many. You give a good team like South Carolina that many second chances.
Oh yeah, I mean, now it's saying that you got to put the ball in the basket pretty much every time you put it up, and that's a tall tale there. But yeah, it was exciting. It was good, and also, man, the ratings. There was some high ratings there. The ratings were higher than the men's championship game, and so the women's NCAA basketball is on a high right now. So, what are your thoughts on that, gentlemen? What do you think about the viewership for women's to the men's?
I think
What are the differences there for you guys? Why do you think this is?
I think it's pretty simple. You know, there's more incentive for women. Them, that's probably exposure. That's the bigger stage than the WNBA, and especially because its season is so short. And WNBA, you got to play overseas as well. I mean, so for female athletes, they stay in school, and when you have that, the public gets to recognize these faces like Caitlin Clark, like Angel Reese. We get to know the players. In a men's game, it seems like you got a different roster every year for your team. There's no. It's just not conducive to the public. The public wants the names. They want the notoriety. They want to be able to follow these players and get to know them. And they're just not in college long enough on the men's side. Not to mention, I think the men's side, as far as the rules go, they're kind of on their own. Like we got their own special set of rules that only kind of men's college follows, and I think it breaks the game up too much. The media timeouts every 4 minutes. I just don't think it's a good product on the men's side like it is in the women's side. You got the standardization, the 4 quarters. It just looks like all levels of basketball from high school to college to pro. I think it hurts the men's how different the game is. And like I said, I think they stop the game too much. Um, they're reviewing out of bounds plays. I don't think it's a good product on the men's side. And I don't think with the nil and the transfer portal, there's no, the rosters are just different from year to year. And that's where the women have taken advantage. Their players are staying 2, 3, 4 years, and we're getting to know them. And people are, once you get to know these players, start watching the game, you're like, hey, this is a good product. So that's what I think. You're on mute. You're on mute, Mr. 401.
Oh wow, I said a lot too. So, Mr. Brown, and I thought I laid it up really good for you, Mr. Brown. But I'll try one more time. All right, all right. I turned the ball over there on that one. It was a careless pass, but see if we can get you a basic here, a nice Jason Kidd bounce pass here. The women's game, the ratings so much, much higher than the men's, and it just seems like the popularity is leaning more in that direction over the last couple of seasons here. What do you think? Why you feel that way? And then also, I think you can hear me. Welcome, Mr. Eric Hightower. He's in the studio, and we'll come back to you, Mr. Hightower, with the same question about the rate, the viewership. But also, you can throw in your thoughts on the championship game, the women's championship game from this past Sunday. Okay, over to you, Mr. Brown.
Okay. So I consider myself a basketball purist. I like the game for the purest reasons that the rules are being complied with. When you watch the men's game, there's a lot of traveling, walking, pushing. It's horrible to me. The product is not that good anymore. When I look at the ladies play or the females, their game is in tune with what I like. I mean, you don't see all this dunking hanging off the rim. You got to play defense up and down the floor. Great scorers, shooters, boxing out, closing out on threes. I mean, if you're really a purist, that's what you like to see in the game of basketball. But I want to take one exception. The portal is active for the women as well. I think that what I've fallen in love with, again, with basketball is I like to see players being able to move. You look at John Calipari going to Arkansas. Think about the kids he recruited and can't move.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm enamored with the portal, and it works for Don Staley because she got a couple of kids out of the portal. The game is just pure. It's just. I mean, Brooks said something that I think is germane to my thoughts, and that is, you have 4 quarters. Everybody that's over the age of 30 came up playing 4 quarters. 2 halftime, and then you finish the other 2. But now a half and a half, it doesn't sit well with me. So I've been watching WNBA, NBA for the last 15, maybe 20 years. Really enjoy the game. I like the players. I like the trash talking. I enjoy it all. So I don't have an issue with the ladies' game, but I'd much rather watch the females than the guys.
All right, very good, Mr. Eric Hightower. Your thoughts on the viewership, comparing men to women, and also your thoughts on the South Carolina Iowa game.
You're on mute. You're on mute, Eric.
I'm doing the same thing. Huh? When we look at it, right, we say men's, we say women, right? And I think one thing that we have to understand that basketball is life. Life is basketball. Football is life, football, and so on. And so in this one key word right here, I want to say ever evolving. Ever evolving. Let's go back to basketball. James Naismith, right? Put it in the basket, somebody grab it out of the basket, bring it back down. Okay, then we get the nets. Okay. Again, ever evolving, right? The game was slow and methodical. Even to before Showtime, Magic Johnson, come down, set offense, go here. Ever evolving. We talk about the men's game. And the women's game, because of this lack of popularity, simply because probably these are women. And guess what? Men's supposed to come first, right? So they're going to be behind, right? In most cases, in most instances, unfortunately, in many cases, in many instances. It's a cultural game. It's a world game. It's a United States game. It's the you got to stay right here in your pocket and you do what a woman do. You stay in your pocket and you do what a man do, right? And having watched basketball over the years, we watched the way the lane was changed, right, for Wilt Chamberlain. And guess what? Ever evolving, right? Ever evolving. That's going to continue to happen. And we're in a cycle right now, right? That we see that things are happening now. Who's the GOAT in the men's game? Who's the GOAT now in the women's game, right? And we're going to see these cycles continue. These cycles continue. There's a loop right there that goes on. Well, this happens and then this happens and then we go back to this right here. It shouldn't change. It should change. This needs to happen this way. That's just like the life you live as a human being, right? We are going to change. We are going to evolve. I like the portal. Some of the people that don't like the portal is because what? A particular coaches, right? Because they don't have the stronghold over players and athletes anymore. So some coaches want to get out, or they're going to say the game is not worthy right now, and the game is not good enough. I can remember when Stephen Curry came on in 2015 shooting the basketball the way he was shooting it. And I said, boy, how can this last, right? This is not going to be, whether I like it or not. Again, key word, ever evolving. It's just like it's human nature, always changing, new discoveries, whether we like the old way it was done, whether we like the new way it's done. It is still what it is. It's a game. It has cycles. It's like a life cycle. It's going to keep on going until who? Who can stop it? I don't know. Or we're going to make this the normative that women will continue to, what was this year? 18, nearly 19 million viewers for the championship game, right? For the men, for the women. For nearly 15 million for the men. And then we have to look at all the dynamics behind the scene on that. What's some of the dynamics? Well, when the game was on ABC, it's kind of like a national audience and everybody can see to get those 18.9 and 19 million people. And then the men's game was on CBS or Turner, whatever. And that's most like a cable and people that have cable. So do those numbers really equate? 18 million, 14 million? Maybe yes, maybe no. There's so many variables right there. The fact of the matter is many times we have to enjoy the entertainment, as I put it, for the entertainment purposes. It's a sport, it's basketball. We like it. We see teams come up, we see teams go down. It's just the way it is, in sports now, whether we accept it or whether we don't. Enjoy it as entertainment, whether it's the WNBA or the NBA. It's still a beautiful game. Whether we like the Bill Russell era or they like the 80s and Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas and such, or whether we get into today's game, the LeBron James game, crybaby game.
That era, okay. But yeah, man, those are again points well taken. And I think that just off the top for me with the women's game, I think it is key that most of the players, they're playing at minimum 3 years, but a lot, I mean, really on the higher end of 4 years. So you do have time, and the players have time to develop, and it kind of take you back. For me, it take me back to those days. For me now, when I remember seeing like like the Georgetowns, and you had like Patrick Ewing for a long time, and Elijah Warren playing for a long time, and guys like that, and it just kind of once it started coming to getting to that era where a lot of players were leaving soon, it was just a matter of time before it starts eroding. And for the men's side, not that it's bad or anything, but you don't get a chance to latch on to anybody because they're gone. And they're pretty much gone before they even get drafted. Look at Ben Simmons, for example. I mean, before he even, at LSU, I mean, can we even recall it? A handful of games he played there. And it's like, was he even really there? He was gone before it started. Yeah, Kyrie Irving, another example, and other players. But I think that has a lot to do with it. And then the if you look at I mean, at the women's side, I think a lot of the players have been marketed. So it's kind of like an NBA, WNBA style of marketing that the women's side is doing, whether it's done on purpose or not. But that's the way it just kind of feels. So for me, I think that's part of the difference. But but it is what it is right now. But it's a popular game, and that's good. For me, basketball is played in different ways, different age groups, different genders. So it's going to be different styles of play, and you have to just kind of pick the style or enjoy the styles that you watch. Just different versions of it. But it is a huge thing. And speaking of ratings, let's go ahead and talk about a player that is really moving the needle here, and that's Caitlin Clark. So there's a lot of discussion about whether Caitlin Clark, I've heard the word GOAT, one of the GOATs, as Don Staley said after the game. Um, what do you guys think about not Don Staley, but what do you think about Caitlin Clark? Let's get to that. So what do you think of her, and where do you think she falls in the pantheon of the history of the game on the women's side? And we'll just go around the horn. Let's start with you, E, then Brooks, then Mr. Brown.
Oh boy, well, as a championship coach said the other night, and again, lifting up the athletes, because the athletes are what make the game, and the game is cultural. It's a milieu of kind of what's happening now, almost like anything else. It's like the way we dress today. What do we wear today, right? You're gonna put on your Under Armour, you're gonna put on your Nike, you're gonna put on your Adidas, or you're gonna put on whatever, right? It's culture. I look good in this. This one wears best for me. Coach said after the game, the championship coach that won 38 consecutive games and a championship that went undefeated, she gave the praise to not only her God, but the athlete that was playing. Caitlin Clark, all-time leading scorer, whether you like her or not. GOAT. Before we get to the GOAT, I'm going to go to what Dana Taurasi and some of the other WNBA players said. You're playing against 19, 18-year-olds, maybe 20-year-olds, right? Wait till you get to the big time. Wait till you get up here, right? Let's see what you're going to do. She's a GOAT. What would you say? College? And I have no doubt about it that she's going to be in the pros, right? And she's going to do well. She's good for the sport. She lifted up the game for ladies. Excellent. Good. That's what needed. But when you get past, she's got to be able to compete with the Dana Taurasi's, the Tina Thompsons, the Tina Charles, the Tamika Catchings, the Sue Birds, the Cynthia Cooper, four-time world champion, Sylvia Foles, Cheryl Swoops, Maya Moore, all those great GOATs already. And she is maybe one of the GOATs, but we'll know. And I think we'll know very quickly. It won't even take a month into the season to see where she is, where we'll talk about a GOAT. But is that too early right now? Let's just call her probably the greatest collegiate player, one of the
Okay, and
greatest.
yep, and that's what we're referring to as well too. Is basically at this point, she one of the goats when it comes to the women's college game, and I'm knowing that. And there's a long lineage of players, so I think that is she one of the goats, or do you even think she's the goat? So you can take that from there.
Well, we can leave it at that. In my opinion, she's not the GOAT just because she's all-time leading scorer. Is LeBron James the GOAT because he's the all-time leading scorer? That's still questionable too.
All right, Brooks, what you got, man?
Yeah, I mean, when you're evaluating, like, somebody being the greatest ever in their sport, so let's stick to college here. I mean, you got to look at stats, but you also got to look at winning. You got to look at the accolades. Caitlin Clark's got the statistics. She's the all-time leading scorer in NCAA. She's a better passer. I was when I watched her play, she's a better passer than people give her credit for. Really good vision. She's got some accolades like Player of the Year awards. She's got most outstanding person in the tourney a couple times as well. But I think you got to combine it. if you don't win any titles, I don't see how you could put yourself up there as the GOAT. I think it's got to be that combination of stats and winning. You look at somebody like Breanna Stewart. She went 151-5 in her career, won a championship all 4 seasons, 4-time Final Four, most outstanding player, averaged 18, 7, 2, 1, and 2. So 17.7 rebounds, about 3 assists, 1.5 steals, 2.7 blocks per game, over 400 assists and 400 blocks. First player to do that. I mean, she's probably on the other end. She's probably the most decorated as far as like winning and accolades. She's probably not the scorer that Caitlin Clark is, but that's what I'm saying. I think you got to have that good combination. You think about Cheryl Miller, you think about Shamika Holtzclaw, all these players that I would probably put ahead of her. They have the winning too. They have the stats and they also have the championships. So, in my evaluation, when you're evaluating greatest of all time, no championships, I think that's important. I think you got to respect the people who have come before you who've done it, who've won multiple championships while still playing at a high level. But I do think she's got a stake for, top 10 college player of all time for sure. But again, I think she's lacking that championship, which she almost got, but I think she's lacking that. And I knock her down a few pegs because of that.
Hey, Brooks, Mr. Brown, and 411. I want you to keep an eye on Caitlin as she goes to the pros. One of the things we do know, she has the court vision. I want you all to watch something as she gets to go to this next level. When she released the pass, I want you to watch that snap on the full finger extended out when she passed, which is a key element in passing, whether you're passing a bounce pass or a baseball pass or whatever kind of pass. I want to keep an eye on her passing. And she'll be able to score if she can shoot 3-point. But I want to keep an eye on the way she releases that pass. Will she be able to do that the same way with the same velocity and speed with the faster WNBA players, more mature, primed players in the game? We want to see if she's going to be able to make that long pass, that 30, 40-foot pass down the court. And a lot of that comes from her precision and way she passed the ball now, the snap on the end of that pass. Very, very important when you're passing, whether you're doing two-handed chest pass, bounce pass, baseball pass, whatever. Her snap on the end is kind of reflective of a athlete where they say quick release or if the ball comes off. Also, when we see her extension, she doesn't have much trajectory on her shot. When she's going to be playing with probably bigger people and more mature athletes, will she have to slightly change her shot to get more trajectory, or because she's kind of shooting an arm extended shot, going up to the next level? It's something that I'm going to be looking at with her mechanics in her gameplay.
Okay, Mr. Brown, what you got there? And that's good there, E, because we're going to talk about the WNBA draft in a few too. So that you gave us a nice preview there of what to look forward to. Mr. Brown, what are your thoughts about the all-time rankings of Caitlin Clark?
I think that where we are right now is we're looking at, all of us in here are looking at the glitz and glamour, and I'm of the mind that if you're a purist, you have to know basketball from every level. He was talking about fundamentals. Fundamentals don't change. Once you have them, they're with you. I'm a 70-year-old man and I can go out and pass the ball, but I can't run and jump anymore. What I'm going to talk about is Caitlin Clark has been hailed as the greatest scorer in the history of basketball, correct? Would everybody agree with that? Give me a nod.
That's the way it's been presented, yeah.
But that's not true. The greatest scorer in the history of basketball is Miss Moore. Because she went to a Division IIA school, I think you can label Caitlin Clark as the best scorer in Division I. but the greatest scorer scored 4,061 points. So you got to look at that over a 4-year period. But I also say that what we have to pay attention to is the word evolution. The game has evolved into where we loiter on the perimeter for threes. There were this young lady, Rather Moore, who scored 4,061 points, didn't have threes. So you got to ask yourself, what would have happened had she had threes? I just, like I say, I just look at basketball for what it is as a purist. I don't care how you score, what you score. I just look at the game in its totality. And people are quick to label somebody as the GOAT. I watch the game. Someone can say, well, you have some biases if you don't see her as the GOAT. And I ask them, by which standard are you measuring her to be the GOAT? And it always comes back to scoring. Well, she's not the GOAT when it comes to scoring. And what she did in 4 years, Kelsey Plum did in 3. Can you imagine if Kelsey Plum would have stayed around 4 years? But we can't talk about that. It is what it is. Call her the greatest scorer in Division I history, but she's not the greatest scorer in the history of basketball, as people attempt to blur the lines. Facts speak for themselves. This new phenomenon, Google, is something else. I had to do all my research through dictionary. I tell young people today, man, this Google stuff is good. You know, it can make you a genius in 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying?
Well, hey, Mr. Brown, or Encyclopedia Britannica.
I have those. Hold on a second.
But yeah, I think Mr. Brown was talking about something. What I say, he used the word evolution. I use the term ever evolving, right? So to say that someone is the GOAT, I mean, and see, it makes for good conversation. It's the entertainment of what we said. There you go. See there, the new book of knowledge. All right. Look at that right there.
Got the whole set.
See what I'm
replenished. So
I can remember because my parents bought that Encyclopedia Britannica. Look at the different birds right here. Look at this right here.
And I was looking for a dictionary today.
The birds right now. These are the only birds that mankind know right here. What's in this book?
Well, hey, is it going to update? Like a living organism, like Google can. But yeah, I get what you're saying there.
That stuff is
good. Yeah, but carry on with your thoughts there about the throughout the history of the game. You mentioned one there, and just finish out that thought.
Okay, so we have to respect the fact that there are still pigeonholes in basketball. There are folks in this pigeonhole. There are folks in this pigeonhole. You have great rebounders, great assist players, great defenders, great scorers. We typically like the beauty of the score, and all of a sudden we want to make the scorer a GOAT. Steph Curry, again, evolution, but the 3, in my opinion, has ruined the game because people will run down, jack up a 3 when you can get a 2. So now it's analytics. I think that during the South Carolina game, there were 34 points scored on 17 rebounds. So you got to figure that out. They're getting the rebounds and putting them back up.
Mm-hmm.
And there are instances where you're going to be fouled. So you're going to get a 3. But I tell you that the lesson I learned a long time ago, both in college and high school, if you live by the jumper, you're going to die by the jumper. And I don't care how good you are or how hot you are. I can take a layup or shoot a long 3. I'm going to make more layups than I will 3s. So, yeah, the 3 is sexy. It's going to give you 3 points. But again, Caitlin Clark is the Division I all-time leading scorer. The NCAA all-time leading scorer scored 4,061 points. So there is a difference. and she stayed around 4 years. So do the work.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you're familiar with the word arithmetic?
Yeah. Nice word.
Huh?
The
Arithmetic.
math.
No, you call it math, but in arithmetic, arithmetic they tell you show your work, right?
Yeah, you got to show your work. Yeah,
Got to show your work in arithmetic. So I always tell people in arithmetic you got to show your work.
that's right.
Scoring, you got to show your work. Show your work. Find out who's there with you. And I challenge you to call Caitlin Clark the greatest scorer in the history of NCAA basketball because she's second. Thank you.
And that's what makes the game beautiful. Then, when we played, and now, right? And you know what? Just like you said, we've always liked sexy from the beginning of time. So it's a different type of sexy now, right? Whether you like it or not, it's in your face. And so it's entertainment. It's entertainment.
Yeah, I think that, just in going through what I've seen through my span of watching the game, she definitely is. I would definitely, if we had the discussion, I wouldn't mind her name coming up in the discussion. Um, but there's a lot of variables involved to get down to the GOAT. I wouldn't necessarily call her the GOAT because, especially not winning any championships, any at this point. Now, the two Final Four appearances and leading the type of team that she had, which was a solid team, but it wasn't a stacked team, uh, carries a little weight for her too. And her scoring prowess and where she can shoot from and the way she can pull all the players, the defense has to really pay attention to her, and her threat from shooting that far. I mean, those are great qualities. I think she's the best player in the game today. And you all can question that if you want to, but I think she is right now. But there's a lady named Lucia Harris, and she was drafted by the by the New Orleans Jazz at that time. And so if you can be drafted in the NBA, like they legitimately drafted her. She just didn't play because she thought it was it was kind of a joke for her to do that. But she realized that men and women are different. So I understand that. But Lucia Harris is another player I would, ask people to go look up and see how great she was. She played at Delta State.
May I say something here?
Sure.
Please.
Absolutely.
I want you to take some time and check out Paige Beckers.
No question.
She is tough. And you got to look at the injuries she's sustained over a college career. But when you start talking about Caitlin Clark, she's given them all everything they ever won. And they only had 6 players. So I'm saying, we're quick to label people, but I'm going to tell you, if Bud comes back to Utah, up to Connecticut, and she's healthy next year, they're going to be the team you're going to have to deal with.
No question about that.
South Carolina, I'm a Gamecocks fan. But UConn has so many injuries over the last 3 years, and I wonder what kind of athletic trainer they have to sustain those type of injuries. But I'm telling you, I like Paige Becker.
Yeah, me too. But the reason why I say is what you just said, the injuries. The injuries that kept her out for so long. That's why, and that being away for that period of time and being injured and coming back from an injury, I think for me the level of play that Caitlin Clark is bringing, in my rankings, I would have her ahead. But that doesn't mean that Paige Beckers at one point wasn't the player, because I do think she was, and that injury really did, change the perception of that. But yeah, when she came back this season, she was doing damage, and she's a great one. Breonna Stewart was another name I thought about too. But there's so many women players. Cheryl Miller. Reggie Miller said that she's better than him. You know what I'm saying? And he's an NBA Hall of Famer. So you can take that for what you want to take it for. So I think she can be mentioned in the conversation, but definitely not the GOAT.
Stand by for Juju Watkins.
We're gonna see. We're gonna see. So what players are you looking forward to? Yeah.
Stand by.
Yeah, she's tough. All right. Let's see. We talked about that. Let's go ahead and jump right into the. Let's talk about Angel Reese, gentlemen. And I'm glad you all are here because I want to get your opinion on that too. Angel Reese had a great career, and there's a lot of banter back and forth about when she was eliminated and discussions that she at the post game conference how she basically was saying that there was a lot of pressure on her, a lot of this and that, and a lot of burden, so on and so forth. Was it sour grapes, or was it or is it a lot of truth to what she was saying there, or both?
We live in a fast world now, okay? As Mr. Brown mentioned a few minutes ago, Google, the internet, media, right? If you're going to do the bye-bye, if you're going to do the whatever they do, signals and whatever, you got to be ready for the comeback, the pushback, or whatever they call it, right? This is the big leagues. You're getting paid $1 million while you're in college, right? You're still a baby, as Tarazi said. Wait till you get up and playing with the women. And then you got to think about life. If you're out there talking it and giving it, you got to be ready to receive it. Everyone has emotions. How do we handle it? How do you handle your emotions? It's okay to cry, right? Can you take the heat and the pressure? You're making $1 million a year. You've already signed with Shaq. In the contract with you have a contract. Things are good. Things are right. You're modeling. It's more than sport. It's culture. It's media. Okay. You can cry like a baby when you're 18. Guess what? You can cry when you're 30 years old. It's okay to cry. It's all right. It's okay. It's both of them, Mr. 411, right? Be happy where you are. Keep moving forward. You're going to be fine. Hey, listen, you're living a good life. You should continue to live a good life. Yes. Gosh, it's hard, though, when somebody make you out of the villain, right?
And I say this too, E. For me, she did embrace the villain role too. She even said it in a interview in a locker room. She said she embraces being the villain. I'll be that. And to me, nothing. I have nothing against how she played. I have nothing against how she wants to, talk, attack players and coaches and whoever else. You know, but my only thing was, don't do it at the end now when you get beat. And don't put that in as your reason as now. And some people may say, well, that's being too harsh. Well, not when you put it out there, and that is what it is. So that's just how I look at it. But what do you say, Brooks? How do you take the back and forth there with the Angel Reese post game interview?
Look, look, to play at that level, D1, one of the top programs in the nation. I mean, you got to have a swagger and a confidence about you, and that's true in a lot of different avenues. When I get out and step on the floor and officiate, I feel like I have to project a certain level of confidence. So I think people need to understand, like, when you get to that high level, everybody out there is going to come with a little swagger, with a little confidence. You know, uh, do you talk trash? Do some players talk trash more than others? Sure. But whatever keeps them motivated and keeps them playing their best, that's how they play. You know, so there's a dichotomy here with okay, now she's in this press conference and she's trying to be vulnerable and let that guard down. And as think about as a fan and as somebody who, like, we always criticize players and coaches for that coach speak, for that player speak, giving us all these sayings like, oh, I give it 110%, focus on the next game, all these sayings that we just hate. But then when we actually get a player who's going to be vulnerable up there and tell you how she feels, oh, now now you're crying. And I just don't understand that. I applaud her for being vulnerable. She let her guard down. She's not on the court. with the swagger, like she can do that on the court. You don't tell me she can't let her guard down while she's at a press conference and tell you how she really feels and try to be vulnerable. That's all she was doing, and I respect that. And as somebody who, as a fan who watches, as somebody who's watching press conferences, as a media person interviewing, that's what you want, right? That's what you want. So the backlash to me was just a little overblown. She's not on the court. She can let her guard down and tell you how she really feels. So that was my take. A little overblown. It takes a certain swagger and confidence to play at that level, and that's what she plays with. Is she trash talk a little bit? Sure. Okay, but give her credit for letting her guard down and telling you how she really feels, and let's not overblow this.
All right, Brooks. Okay, what you got, Mr. Brown, on this?
I'm going to use 2 words: passion and emotion. Passion for the game and showing your emotions with a loss. Anybody who accepts a loss is a loser. They'll never win anything in their life. There's no joy in losing at anything in life. You get knocked down, you get up. If you get up, you're a winner. If you stay down, you're a loser. I'm not a fan of all this kumbaya. You got to shake hands after the game. I never shook anybody's hand when I lost. Did shake your hand if I won, because it was the same way. I don't like you as long as we're on the court. If whatever I can do to get you out of your game, that's my job. If you don't succumb to it, then I figure out something else to get to you. I may step on your toe, talk about your mother, say some things that you don't like. But the bottom line is to get inside your head, make you think about me as opposed to the coach's edict to you and moving it around. So Angela Reese, I think, she has a lot of basketball growing to do. But make no mistake about it. I like her aggressiveness. I like the way she came at Caitlin Clark last year. People were pissed off because Caitlin Clark was walking up and down the floor talking about, you can't see me because I'm busting you up. So when she turned the trick on her, people got upset. So I asked the question. I go in, I read a lot of blogs and I look at things. And I find people who try to turn this into something of racial animus.
Mm-hmm.
And I ask myself, have you ever played a sport? Have you ever been on a field of sport? I don't call it a battle, because battles mean somebody's going to lose their life. On the field of sport, you're there to win. And I think Malcolm X said it best: by any means necessary. If I have to step on your toe, we got Brooks that's an official. So you gotta, when you hit him with the elbow, you go stand by the official and make sure they can't come back and get you, because when that second elbow, Brooks is gonna see that. He goes, oh, you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? Mr. 411, same thing. You have to be sly in how you do business on the basketball court, on the football field, on the tennis court. Track and field, not so much. But, you have your officials over there, you try to use them to what? Your advantage. Our thing, we had a guy that when I was in college that was 6'8". And if we saw an overweight official, the coach would call us in and say, I want y'all to run him 4 or 5 times. Then when he's standing there, big fella go stand in front of him because he's not going to move. And then we're going to plow trade. We're going to grab hands, uniforms. So the key is you got him out of place. What's wrong with being passionate and emotional about what you do in life? Nothing.
Yep, and all points are well taken. I just want to throw some more stuff in though. But I later found that, and it was documented video. We put it on the TikTok page. But Caitlin has stated that that's the thing between her and her coach that they do. So when she does that gesture is to her coach. And again, I don't have a problem with an opponent taking that and utilizing that to their mental advantage, right? Michael Jordan is known for taking anything and trying to put it and spin it to his advantage. So for another team, for another player to say, wait a minute, you can't do that gesture. You know what I'm saying? That's at us. And you take it that way, that's fine. But at the end of that game last year, she followed Caitlin Clark around that court. Now, it's one thing for me now. It's one thing to do it and then be done with it. But then when you continue to do it and then you follow up and down the court, and to me it was excessive. And so that was my only issue with that, was that it
The
got to the
official
point where it's
stopped it.
excessive.
The official
But
should have stopped it.
they should have, no question about
Right?
that.
And if
Yeah.
the official don't stop me, I'm gonna keep at you. Period.
Well, in that realm, yes. But at the end of the day, you still have a choice to make as a person. And so, like, to me, that was just too much. Now, I'm saying all that to say, if you want to go that route, that's cool. But when you lose and now you're on the other end of that fence, because she had all season to me to be like, I got all these things going on. I got people, nobody likes me and things like that. She had plenty of time to come out with that stuff, but she came out with that at the end when she know her season's done and she got put out.
Let's
Now that's
factor,
just my take on
let's factor it in too. Now she's a young person, right?
it. Absolutely.
Not many mistakes. If that is a mistake, Mr. Brown says, "Hey, listen, this is the way it is. You talk trash. You do this right here. You can be passionate about it all you want to. You can be emotional about it. Everybody has emotions, and how you handle your emotions. And if it fits your bill right there with what you're doing, that's what you do." But she's an 18 or 19-year-old kid, and we're going to do things and say things, even as older people. As an athlete, when you're out there on that court, right, things change. Many athletes are in that zone. We say things or do things that we probably shouldn't say or do, but it's under the guise of what? We are competitors. We like to fight. We're winners, as Mr. Brown said. We're going to look at it this way right here. We're not losers. We're going to fight to the end. I might say or do anything to get through this right here because I want to win. The 18-year-old, 19-year-old.
Oh yeah. Very good points all the way across the board. Hey, we are on Surge TV as well. So shout out to Surge TV for picking up 401 Sports World Network. So program is going to be on Surge. And hey guys, this is the first episode of 2024 on Surge TV as well. So we have the simulcast going on. Make sure you go to YouTube, type in 411 right there, 411 Sports World Network, and make sure you hit that subscribe button there. On TikTok, make sure you type in Mr. Mister FOURONEONE. That's Mr. 411. Also on TikToks is Brooks at BR_case TikTok. So make sure you follow Brooks. He had a nice video earlier today that was on TikTok, and it was in relation to who, Brooks? What was that about?
Yeah, I just talked a couple minutes about Dawn Staley and her comments on trans athletes, and try not to take take sides out of it. I just wanted to break it down a little bit, give some context behind it. So check that video out.
Oh yeah, definitely check that out. And gentlemen, we can get your quick thoughts on that too. I know you have made that documented on the video before, but transgender athletes, Dawn Staley, basically in a question that was asked to her after the championship game, she stated that she doesn't have a problem with transgender athletes playing in the women's game. So, what do you think about that, Mr. Brown? Transgender women playing in the women's college game.
I don't know.
And by the way, the NAIA has banned that from happening.
So what's next? What are they going to ban next? They just withdrew a world championship swimming first place from a transgender. I don't know. I really don't. It's something that you can pose the question, but I really don't know. I don't know. I look on it as this. I use the word character and emotions. I mean, everybody that's on this page right now has somebody that's gay in their family. And you don't want somebody judging your family or giving your family grief. I think they're looking for a place to be. So develop a transgender league. I don't know. I don't know the answer. We talk about an unfair advantage. Well, I mean, Cardoso is 6'7", and you got a 5'10" center. That's an unfair advantage. So I'm just gonna be honest with you. I haven't read up on it. I don't know enough, but my heart says you got to allow people in different spaces in life, and gay, transgender, whatever the case may be, we have to find a place for them to fit in. And I
Yeah.
don't like discriminating against anybody. So find a way to beat them. Get you a better trainer. I don't know.
And that's interesting because and your response is a great response because that is kind of like that's kind of part of this issue is like trying to figure out where everything can intertwine. I mean, until they come up with a league that is a transgender division, where how do you handle this? And so it'll be interesting to see how all this unfolds. Only reason I didn't have you comment is because you did an episode on this, and I'm going to make sure those those responses that you made are put out there so everybody can go out to the page and click on that. So I don't want you to spoil what you already laid out. And don't forget Brooks to showcase his is out there as well today. So we'll make sure of that. And I'll add the links to this show so that you all can click on those things and take a look at it and make a decision there. But we'll see where all that goes. But now, before we get out of here, gentlemen, the WNBA, the draft is coming up real soon. I believe it's next week, matter of fact. And we have a lot of players that are, they're going to be making names for themselves soon here. Deanna, was it Tarazi? Y'all mentioned her earlier about saying that they're going to have to get ready for that adjustment. So, gentlemen, WNBA draft. Is it fair to say that we all agree that Caitlin Clark is going to be number one? Does anybody not have her going number one? All right. So I'm assuming that
I'll
we
say
all
she's
have
the
her.
sexy pick. She's the
If
sexy pick.
you was drafting the team, if you was the Indiana Fever, you was in there, you was the Indiana Fever brass, and you had to make that pick, would you take Caitlin Clark with the number one pick? And if not, who would it be?
I don't know anybody in the draft. Let's see. Hold on.
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean, yes,
oh, Cameron Brink is tough. So you got
yeah,
two big girls.
Stanford, yeah.
Man, can you imagine her with what's her name? The other big girl out of South Carolina.
Oh, with Boston and Indiana.
Yeah, yeah, Cameron
Oh,
Brink.
that would be a tough front line. That front line would be tough.
Man. And then I can wait
Yeah.
and get me a guard, but I'm telling you, you can't be big.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I'm not an anti Caitlin Clark, but I'm just saying Cameron Brink is tough.
Yeah.
She is tough. And if I could line her up with Boston, woo, man,
Hey, that'd be a tough front line. If this mock draft holds serve, you have to be if you're an LA Sparks fan, you got to be happy about this. If you can get Brinks at 2 and then turn around at 4 and get Cardoso out of South Carolina. Now they have a young front line to make and kind of carry that tradition going on with the Alyssa Leslie's and then Candace Parker's and so on. So that would be interesting too. But yeah, so right now I'm just gonna say probably consensus is Caitlin Clark number one. But E, what do you think? What are your thoughts on the draft? Oh, you're on mute, sir.
Again, okay. There I go, there I go, there I go, there I go. I'm gonna stay with Caitlin Clark. I like the shooting, I like the spectacular, I like what the game is. I look at it from a cultural perspective in many ways, not always, but I'm gonna go with the entertainment part, right? I'm not on the floor. So what do? I'm going to see the entertainment and enjoy, right? I was at the Atlanta Hawks game last night, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, man, that was excellent. That was good, right? Well, okay, double overtime, right? So this is entertainment. So you enjoying the last minutes of the game for what it is. And that's what I'm going to be with Caitlin Clark. I hope she does well. I know she will. I'm looking at the fundamentals. I'm just going with her. And just like the NBA draft, after the first 2-3 players, who really cares? I mean, Angel Reese is probably projected to go number 7. I hope she does well. I hope it's good.
Mm-hmm.
It's all right. So I'm going with Clark on my first pick also.
All right, Bruce, what are you thinking about this draft, man?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just the type of player Clark is, but the draw. She is a draw, and that's the other thing about it. And it makes it pretty much impossible to pass her up at number 1. So yeah, she's going to go number 1. Brink will definitely. It's probably her, and then Brink as probably the 1-2 best players in the draft. I think Cardosa improved her draft stock in the tourney. So I think she's going to be in the top 5. So there's some good talent up on this draft. You think about people like Aaliyah Edwards. You talk about Angel Reese. So there's good players. This draft definitely goes probably 6, 7, 8 deep with really good talent.
Yeah.
So that my Atlanta dream outside picking 12th, but that's okay. But yeah,
maybe it's a good thing for your dream. Maybe they had a decent season then.
Yeah. So. Yeah, good. This could be a solid draft. So these, like I said, it looks like it's going about 7 or 8 deep with really good players.
Yeah. Also, players that you can sell too. I mean, obviously you can sell Clayton Clark, without a doubt. But then Angel Reese, wherever she ends up, if she ends up in Chicago or Minnesota, she'll be able to fit in. And if nothing else, people are going to want to follow and see how that's going. So you do have that star power. You see the Aces are already moving they're already moving their Indiana home game. The Vegas Aces, they're already moving it to the T-Mobile Arena. So they're already setting up for what they think is going to be Caitlin Clark on the Fever and huge crowds. So if nothing else, that the phenomenon, at least the first time around the bases, is going to be a big sale across the board. But I'm interested. I like the bigs that are coming out, and and again, of course, with Caitlin Clark, I'd like to see where she looks with NBA level teammates. We'll see how that pans out. But anything else on the draft, gentlemen? Any other comments there?
May I? If I may?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Come on.
All right, forgive me.
Back
so
to
I
you.
went out for a minute. There's rain in here. And you know how direct TV and the internet is. But here's what there's 2 things in basketball that's just going to forever be, and you can't change it. It won't ever evolve. 1, you can't teach height.
Right.
Any skilled big person will outplay your best guard because you can't jump all day and you can't get every rebound as a little person. So I like the bigs. I like how the game has evolved with the big people. I'm also mindful of the fact that if I bang you down in the paint enough, Brooks gonna call some fouls on you. You going to the bench. You know what I'm saying? Hate to keep calling you Brooks, but Brooks gonna blow that whistle on you a couple times. Your coach and guess what? Let me tell you what happens, okay?
You working for calls already.
I'm telling you. So what we do is this. Watch every basketball game, and what you do, you start out with your steak. And when your steak go to the bench, what you have to do, get bologna and hot dogs and come in the game. And I'm gonna cook them. You know what I'm saying? So
right there, yeah.
Do everything you want to do, but when I come out and set that pick, and you're a little person, I roll you back down in the paint. You don't have nothing coming. You'll give me what I want. So that I consider that armed robbery, and I'm gonna look at Brooks and say, don't call nothing on him right now. Let me get these 10 or 15 on them, and we'll catch them after halftime. And when I walk back, say, hey, what they say, mouse in the house. Little person in the paint. Let's get it done.
Okay. Any more draft comments?
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. We talk about the difference in the men's and women's game. I think the post play, the women's game still values that traditional center. They still value feeding the post a lot more than the men's game, and you see that in these draft boards. You got that height, you got that size. That's still valued in women's over men's right now. So that's another thing. They got that whole, that traditional center. They think like a Zach Edey type who was in the championship game. That he doesn't. There's not really a place for him in the NBA. It's more of a matchup there.
Yep.
They come in, So that's just to bring it back to that difference in men's and women's. You got a whole. This whole NBA is just that traditional five, that traditional center who just sits in the post. His role is limited in the NBA right now, as opposed to the women's game, who they still have that traditional, post players, and they look for that and they value it. So
and that adds to our entertainment piece, in which I largely look at basketball now, whether it's men or women, right? Like you say, Brooks, hey, listen, the women's game is still, relegated primarily on, it's the big person down low. So, if I want to see that night, I'll look at the women's game. If I want to see the way the men's game is transforming and evolving and taking place. And guess what? Maybe Caitlin Clark will go to the WNBA and she'll transform this from, big person's game to maybe the 5'7", 5'10". And then think about the little girl, what's the young lady, the short defensive player for LSU that held Caitlin Clark down right there in the second.
The one from South Carolina?
LSU. Johnson, right?
Flau'Jae.
Right. Flau'Jae Johnson, right? I think Caitlin
she held her down?
19. Well, she had 30, but see, that's the great. But she had 30, but she had 19 of those 30 or 20 of those 30 in the first half, right?
Right, that's true. Yeah, fair.
To hold her down. So maybe this is the upcoming of, look, we like her.
Like she's small ball.
That's right. And then she can still score 30. So to each his own. Still, as a fan, we have to look at it from an entertainment aspect to enjoy it the way the game is the game is the game.
Mr. Brown, you was clapping there earlier about Edey, and then you stood up when they started talking about post play with the women.
Brooks hit the nail on the head with Edey. There's no place for him in the NBA.
There's no place for him. So let's be excited.
Too robotic.
So let's be excited that the young man will still be able to utilize his 7'4", live maybe his dream. He gets to travel the world. He gets to live a life, right? Because he's 7'4", doesn't have a place in the game, but he has a place in his life, right? I got to play the NBA. Man, that's wonderful. I may play 2-3 years. I may play 4. But guess what? I enjoyed the camaraderie. I know what happens in an NBA locker room. I was out of touch, out of time, but I was there.
Kind of like that other big man. What's the big man that he ended up going to Boston at some point? Then he kind of fizzled out.
What about Rick Burleson? What about a guy like Rick Burleson who played back in the day, right? We won't.
Yeah.
People won't.
But even.
But he got a chance to get there. He got a chance to
Rick couldn't shoot threes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Rick basically do nothing.
But remember the big man that played at UCF? I mean, he's still kind of young right now. He played at UCF, played against Zion Williamson when he was at Duke. Remember, he went to Boston for a second.
Taco Fall?
Taco, yeah. Like, I mean, hey, I'm just saying, like, we talk about Edey, right? You talk about big man. I'm not now Edey for college game. I think he was way better.
Taco some threes now.
Yeah, but even like what you're saying, like the big man like that, like there's no place for him in the NBA, as you can tell. Like he's just not there.
I
They
mean,
some
I
teams
would say
tried
there's
it.
not a place for him, but he's going to be a role player. You know, he's going to be matchup based. You know, I mean, I looked at him and immediately thought, if he's on the floor in crunch time or in extended minutes, they're going to put him in the pick and roll, and they're
Oh, it's
just going
over.
to
Yeah,
demolish him. It's just
yeah,
over.
Hey,
yeah,
hey,
yeah.
hey, Brooks, Mr. Brown, wasn't it fun though to watch Edie just bounce and bump the other night?
Oh,
It was. But Edie's a
it,
stiff. He's a stiff.
Yeah,
He don't have any flow to him. You know,
he has nothing.
you know what I'm
But
saying?
I
He's a
really
stiff.
enjoy. I really enjoy
yeah,
the old school sitter, the bump, the bounce, and the 30 points, 16 rebounds, right?
Let me tell you
And
something. He was
then I
yeah,
giving them the
enjoy.
business.
And then
He
I
was giving
enjoy
them the business in the paint. He was giving them the business.
Yeah, yeah. And then I enjoyed the up and down for Connecticut and the defense. So I really enjoyed the old school basketball and a college basketball game, and then the new school game. It was a very good game for me just to watch to see the contrast and the context in which that they played in right there for two different teams at two different spaces in time, and watch the team go back to back national championship. And we move on to another thought of how good is this Connecticut team? They won last year and then they won this year. What consistency for 24 months?
If they
yeah.
don't lose
That's
this right,
impressive.
they're gonna win 3 in a row.
Yeah,
Maybe.
it's impressive. Impressive. Impressive for the time. One more thing, Jim, before we roll. All right, Ice Cube, the big three, offering Caitlin Clark $5 million. Gentlemen, I got to get your thoughts on this. And Brooks, kick us off on this. What are your thoughts on this? Does this make any sense? Is it just a money move, money ploy? Uh, and what chance do you think Caitlin Clark would even have playing in the big three?
Oh man. I mean, if she wanted to do it, I don't know how their seasons align. I don't know how it lines up with the WNBA season. If she wanted some extra notoriety and, um, but again, he's most of these players, most of these female athletes, they play in WNBA, then they play overseas. Um, so could she change it up and maybe in the offseason play in the big three? I mean, sure, but yeah, I mean, I don't, I don't put much stock into it. I don't think it would be a good move. I think the big three is uh, more on the spectrum of entertainment and sports. It's way on the side of entertainment over sports. So
Yeah, and you talking NBA players too. They're playing in the big three now. It's not. I'm not
yeah,
out there
yeah,
playing.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that yeah, it makes it tough. But Ice Cube, you know, offered 5 million. I mean, what do you think, Mr. Brown?
Uh, First of all, I don't like Ice Cube. I
Okay, so that's how you really
don't like
feel.
the
All
guy at
right.
all. But if you mention Ice Cube and me, that's like throwing kerosene on the fire. I just don't
Mm.
like the guy. But he runs the Barnum and Bailey show. You remember Barnum and Bailey, the circus?
Oh yeah.
That's all that big three is. It's a circus. I mean, what is the purpose of it? I mean, if I was Caitlin Clark, I'd go on and sign up with him, get that $5 million, and get me a couple of injuries, and I'd be back over in the WNBA. Now, I know that speaks to a lack of integrity. All right, I didn't want to say that, but $5 million, I'm gonna jump on that $5 million, and I'll see you when I get the $5 million because the contract. How long do I have to play over here? And are
Yeah.
you going to protect me from the former NBA players that's going to want to do some harm to because I'm making more money to them than them?
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's a little this, little that. But the main thing is this: if she's looking for a payday, and she probably made that much money in college on the NILs, and going to the NBA, I mean WNBA 76, they're gonna have to come up off some more money because them women are packing these stadiums. But I'm not an Ice Cube fan for obvious
Oh.
reasons. He tried to talk people into not voting. I don't like that.
All right. Okay then. All right,
I'm
Ice Cube.
sorry, Eric. I know you got his music there.
You know,
Go ahead.
well,
All
no,
right.
I've never bought a Snoop Dogg album. I've never bought a Ice Cube or Ice T. Don't really know much about them. Again, you know, I like the kind of place that I live in. Okay, and that is, gosh, good for Ice Cube if he can get her. Good for Ice Cube if he wants to challenge the NBA or the WNBA, whatever does. He's a businessman, right? Um, um, this is why I love the portal. This is why I love the NILs, right? People have opportunity to make choices. I have the opportunity to make the choices. She does, honestly, right? Everybody needs $5 million more dollars. I don't care if you got up to $200 billion. You need another $5 million. I don't think she would take it because she, doesn't really need it, but then she could take it. If I was her, I probably wouldn't take it. It's just so many other opportunities that she may have. Yes, $76,000. She's making, as you said, Mr. Brown, she's making that now. So, it depends on whatever you like, whatever you want, whatever your choices. I just like the word options. You know how we've been going back and forth and kind of saying the same words tonight when we talk about evolution and evolving? Well,
Mm-hmm.
it's in the other word right here. She has options, and life is good when you have options.
Yes, it is. All right. All right. Well, appreciate that closing us out. And gentlemen, I definitely appreciate you all joining in. We had a lot there to cover, but I think it was worth it. And it was a great season there for the men's and the women's on the collegiate side. And we're going to turn our attention to the NBA. We have the play in that starts very soon. We got a couple of Hawks fans right here above us. Henry, Mr. Brown. We got some Hawks fans right above you. My son's a Hawks fan, and we're gonna talk about some NBA here once we get the playoff set, gentlemen, and we'll dive into it with a playoff preview when we get the matchups. So hope we can bring you on for that if y'all good with that.
I'm good. I'm gonna leave you with two letters. TT.
Oh,
Trade.
Tristan Thompson.
Trade.
Oh my goodness. We'll send you something in a few minutes, Mr.
Trey.
Brown. We'll see what your opinion is
Trey
on
Young
that.
back in the lineup tonight.
Huh?
Yeah, he's back.
He's back.
Yeah,
Trade
so
him.
we're gonna see what happens. Uh-oh.
Trade him. Because Dante Murray is the man.
Well, we'll find out next week, right? But hey,
Right.
that's a great way to segue into our next episode, Mr. Brown.
All right.
Great way to segue into it. So when we have our playoff preview, we're gonna start off with the Hawks in the conversation because they are gonna be in the play-in, and they should be playing Chicago more than likely.
No. Trade.
All right.
Some players.
All right.
Good
Well, I
night.
appreciate everybody.
I've enjoyed
Yep.
myself as usual.
Once again,
Yes.
Yep.
As always, I thank all of you gentlemen. And we thank everybody for tuning in. Make sure you hit subscribe, share. Sharing is caring. Make sure you hit the notification bell, all that stuff. We thank Surge TV for the simulcast. Remember, 411 Sports One Network on YouTube. We'll see you all later. Have a good one.
All right.